The time is 6:45 South Africa time, 7:45 in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and a big welcome to everyone who's joining us around the world. And Duffy, especially to you. Welcome. Where do you join us from?
Thank you. In fact, I left South Africa a few days ago, 2 days ago, to go to spend some time with my family in Israel because most of my family, all of my family actually located in Israel. My husband couldn't join me to the shlichut, and my kids, they are all in Israel. And also my son, my third son is getting married next week, just day before Yom Kippur.
Ah,
So
Mazal Tov.
thank you. Thank you.
That's fantastic news. So tell us, you're obviously in Israel often. What is the mood like at the moment?
Okay. So firstly, listen, we have to, in Rosh Hashanah, we are going to hear the shofar, okay? And I just learned in Shabbat a beautiful piece about the shofar, okay, that came to some of our sages in dreams, okay? And when it shows in dreams, it can also it can show symbolize the voice of war, or it can symbolizes the war of redemption, okay? And we actually between those two voices, because now we still in the middle of the war, but we shouldn't give up on the dream of to getting to our redemption from this terrible situation, and to not to give up on the dream, to fulfill the dream, to and the wishes to have our brother and sister back from Gaza. So it's mixed feelings. Obviously, it's a mixed feelings, but please God, we shouldn't be pessimistic. We have to hold on the optimism, because as Golda Meir said, we can't be, we don't have the privilege to be pessimistic. The Jewish people, we have to be optimistic.
I don't know if you saw the videos on social media of the Kotel on Saturday night for Slichot services, about 50,000 people at the Western Wall as people came and did the Jewish equivalent, I suppose, of midnight mass, midnight Slichot services, where we ask for forgiveness on the start of the week before Yom Kippur and before Rosh Hashanah. It looked like a beautiful, remarkable experience with just tens of thousands of people present. So quite amazing. Now, Duffy, one of your tasks is to promote Aliyah from South Africa, and you've just over the last few weeks had a major Aliyah exhibition in South Africa. Tell us a little about that.
Okay, so we just finished the 3 days of the Aliyah Expo, which during those days, more than 30 delegates came from all the way from Israel. In fact, it was supposed to be in June, end of June, and then the sky closed because of the Iran war, and we had to postpone it, to push it to the week before Rosh Hashanah. And I was so happy to see that none of the delegates canceled because of the holidays. It's not the perfect time to come to South Africa just before the holidays. People are like they busy with like preparation for the holidays, for the Chag. It's not easy to take people out of Israel, but all of the people that were booked to come as delegates, as experts, to give advice on Aliyah, on different fields. For June Expo, because of the war, we postponed it. All of them, and even more, came just now. So we had the idea to give, to highlight the programs for youngsters, okay? So we actually launched few programs which are amazing. One of them is like a very unique and very like special. It's a group for Aliyah for youngsters age 18 till 28, because this is the age to actually move yourself to make Aliyah. We realized that many people are moving themselves to England, to the UK. Sometimes they will tell you, no, 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 it's only on the way to Israel, but we don't want any station on the way, we can do it directly. So I decided that since people are leaving anyway, my colleagues in UK, they told me, oh, we have so many of your beautiful community. They are coming to us, to the UK. So I said, you know what? If they are coming to UK, I'd better grab them to come straight to Israel. So there is a young guy at the age of 27. He made Aliyah 7 years ago, okay? His name is Noam Sif, and he actually going to put together this group of 15 youngsters, on the age of 18 till 28, to come together, firstly to prepare them, okay, to motivate them to do it together, because it's much easier to do it as a group than to do it as an individual. And he will fly back and forth from Israel to South Africa to help these youngsters to make the move, to make the step. And then also in Israel, they will integrate together in Ra'anana, okay, for the first period. It's not for last, but they will be there together in a group that will allow them to bond, to have like Shabbatonim, outings, trips all over Israel, also to learn together Hebrew in the Ulpan. And then towards after 4 months of integration, they will get the opportunity to get ready for interviews, to put together the resume, to make them ready for the next stage in Israel, or otherwise community service, also, volunteering to help the community in our situation. We also need people to join, as you know, like the different option of volunteering. So that's also one of the option to get integrated into the Israeli society.
So, Duffy, when you look at people who do immigrate and go live in Israel, when do they do it? Is it primarily straight after school, kind of that's the time to move, or straight after university, that's the time to move, or whether they got young kids before they've started school? When is kind of the sweet spot for you of when you find most people make that life-changing decision? Because it really is a major life-changing decision.
100%. So I believe that the perfect timing to do that, it's between these ages of 18 till 28, okay? Advice, and we actually also it's already in school, in high school. As you know, we have, I don't know if you know, but we have a program to help kids in high school to make Aliyah. We call it youth making Aliyah before their parents, and then obviously many times their parents follow them. Okay, so we have different programs, and it's custom made for everyone. But we try to, because I saw this trend of a youngster going to UK, I thought, you know what? We want them to in Israel, and I think that Doron it's his mission to bring 1 million olim. So, we are getting there.
Well, a big welcome to Major General Doron Almog, who joins us this evening. I believe you were traveling from Jerusalem back home a little earlier, but Philip Kravitz told me you were definitely going to be on time.
I'm on time. I'm here.
You're even a few minutes early.
Yeah, I just wanted to check that everything is fine. If you plan to be on time, you are 15 minutes late.
That is the least Israeli thing I've ever heard in my life. Doron, we're just busy catching up with Duffy because Duffy's had some very successful Aliyah programs in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and a big Aliyah expo after the last few weeks. So she's just been telling us about some of the amazing programs she has, focusing on people ages 18 to 28 as the sweet spot where it's most likely that you'll have a successful Aliyah. But Duffy, do you have any idea how many South Africans are in Israel and the descendants of South Africans? Because the impact of South Africans in Israel has been profound. From 1948, where there were over 800 South African volunteers who volunteered in Machal, fighting for Israel's independence, there's been a profound South African impact. Do you have any idea how many South Africans actually have landed up in the state of Israel?
I think that we are talking about something like 30,000, 40,000, okay? But even like their influence on the Israeli society it's a magic. And because South Africa is such a beautiful and special community, okay, that's why we don't want you to stay in South Africa. We want you in Israel. We have so much to learn from you, from the way that your community is like up and running. You know, it's the do-it-yourself community. I know it's like you call it yourself the do-it-yourself community because you don't have government or any governmental services to rely on. And yet you are doing everything by yourself: camps and Zionism and education and Jewish day school and Chevre Kadisha, which is actually the welfare system of the Jewish community. There is a single person that is like is neglected in the South African community. And this Arvut Adadit, we need it also in Israel. I mean, I'm sure Doron will speak about the sense of and how important it is, Arvut Adadit, and not to neglect anyone. So we want this tribute of the South African community in Israel, and that's why I'm pushing the kids to come to Israel to make Aliyah.
Of course, I'd like as many of them to stay in South Africa as possible. But if they are looking at alternatives, I think the alternative they need to look at first is an alternative of Israel, rather than the misery and cold of London. I'm sorry, Carol Ann Gochen is watching us from Leicester in England, but I think people can do better than Leicester in England, and I think they can do better than the anti-Semitism that we've seen in Melbourne, and the viciousness that we've seen coming out of Canada, and the lunacy of the United States. Although there's a war going on, it's still the Jewish home is the home of the Jewish people, and that's only one place, and that ultimately is in Israel for everyone. For those of you watching, I just warn you, I'm on day 4 or 5 of no electricity at home. That's one of the benefits of living in South Africa. It's very romantic. I've got backup after backup. I've got candlelights all over the place, but I haven't had a warm shower or electricity since Thursday morning. And in fact, it started going off on Wednesday evening. That's one of the great things that make it exciting to live in deepest, darkest Africa. And it's dark out there, I can tell you.
The first time I see candles operating internet.
So I see we now joined by someone else who seems to have your login. Gentleman in the red shirt, I have no idea who you are, but you definitely shouldn't be here. So Doron, do you know who that gentleman is who has your login?
What, the time in Israel right now?
No. It was you spoke to him. He gave you a brief about it's Igal Palmor. It's Igal Palmor, and it's fine.
Okay. Igal is here. I just want...
Igal, I hope you have turned off your camera and turned off your microphone, because you definitely shouldn't be on the stage on Zoom. You should be on the public link. But Doron, we broadcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on Zoom. We started this at the beginning of COVID, and we started it. I'm chairman of the Jewish newspaper in South Africa. We're going to be talking about that in a second. The Jewish Report, our latest edition, is out, and we're going to talk about that in another minute or two. But at the beginning of COVID, we said, how do we help our community? And before anyone had ever heard of the concept of Zoom or of a webinar, we went looking for a platform that we could give people COVID advice on. And we started it, the first one, 186 webinars ago, been watched about 6.5 million times since we began this. We're the largest live webinar channel in Africa. It's all interactive, so everyone who's busy watching us hopefully will have comments and questions, and we'll be looking at Facebook, and we'll be looking at YouTube as well as Zoom for comments. But people watch, and they watch together, they screen onto their televisions, and we've covered unbelievable stories from people like the Mossad spy from South Africa to Miri Eisen in the middle of the war with Iran, who had to run into a bomb shelter in the middle of our webinar, to some amazing things with South African politicians. And the last one we did, which was last week, we did the Cannes Lion Advertising Awards, the winners of the Cannes Lion Advertising Awards. So we're diverse, and we are joined from audiences all over the world, in the United States, in the UK, UK, in Israel, in Australia, many in South Africa, and then we've got some fantastic followers in places like Panama and Bangkok and Nigeria and Kenya, and we welcome absolutely everyone. It's really great to be with us. So Duffy, with that, we're going to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for setting this up. Really appreciate it. And thank you as well to Philip Kravitz as well, who's been telling me for literally the last few years that I have to be speaking to Doron, and I'm delighted that tonight is in fact our night. So Duffy, I'm going to mute you and turn off your camera. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Duffy, on behalf of all the Jewish Agency.
And Doron, the time has just gone 7 p.m. in Johannesburg, and it's 8 p.m. in Israel, and a big welcome to everyone who's watching us around the world. This is brought to you, our 186th webinar, brought to you by the South African Jewish Report, and on controls this evening is Dylan. Dylan, welcome this evening. Thank you for everything you do in making sure that everything works behind the scenes. And we're going to tell everyone about the latest edition of the Jewish Report, which is out. So if you haven't gone to get your copy, it's a bumper 54-page edition of the Jewish Report. You have to go pick it up. It's an amazing edition. We've delivered to people's homes and apartments, but don't forget, we really want you to get a digital copy as well. So Dylan will be posting online where you can sign up to make sure you get our newsletter. About 36,000 people get our newsletter every single week. There are also about 170,000 people who visit our website every month. And there are about 30,000 people who read the actual hard copy newspaper as well. So this week is the Jewish Report's Rosh Hashanah edition. I mentioned it's 54 pages of remarkable news, information and stories about Rosh Hashanah, recipes for Rosh Hashanah. But our front page article this week as well is the merger of Yeshiva College and Hirsch Lyons School. We started a few weeks ago with some of the consolidations within our community in order to make sure that we can retain the strength and vibrancy of our community. And we started with the merger of King David Victory Park and King David Linksfield. And we're delighted now that Yeshiva College and Hirsch Lyons as well have merged. So I think you're going to create centers of from schools and centers of maybe slightly less from schools together. But this is the way we create a sustainable community. It's an absolute must read. And if I can punt one other article in this week's edition of the Jewish Report, Paula Slier, former Russia Today journalist, used to be based in Israel. She was in Tahrir Square during the Arab Spring. She was in Ukraine during the war between Russia and Ukraine. We're going to be doing a webinar with her pretty soon. But in addition to that webinar, she's written for us of how she meets this man and he cons her out of her entire life savings. One of the most decorated war correspondents in the world gets conned out by a man who claims to have been a mercenary, who creates this unbelievable story. And as Paula's late father, Lionel, is on his deathbed, the man basically steals her entire life savings. It's a story you have to read. So go pick up your copy. You can get a copy at Pick and Pay or at Checkers or at Discam or your butchery or your school. That's where you can go pick up a hard copy edition of the Jewish Report that should not be missed. Or alternatively, you can go online to sajr.co.za. You can be one of the 170,000 people who visit us every month, and you can either download the full edition or you can click on the individual articles. When you download the full edition, you can either download it in A4 format, which means you can print it at home, or in broadsheet, that size format as well, which is the print edition. You have an option of downloading either of those. So don't forget sajr.co.za. And as many people ask us every week, no matter how many times we tell them, they say, where can we find the webinars that we missed? Well, on our website, there's a button called webinars. Don't forget to click on it, or you can go onto our YouTube channel and click on those webinars as well. So Dylan, also, we're sending out a bonus for people this week. We're sending out a bonus of recipes for Rosh Hashanah. Please go have a look at the website, have a look at our newsletter, and we'll be WhatsApping out tomorrow numerous recipes that we have that are unbelievable. But the last thing we want to tell you about is Jewish Achiever Awards are upon us. Doron, every year we recognize 10 remarkable South Africans, people who've built the country in the post-apartheid era. And we call this the Jewish Achiever Awards. This year, they are the Investec Jewish Achiever Awards. And we recognize people in entrepreneurship and humanitarian work and community service and business icons and with lifetime achievement. And we have this unbelievable gala dinner full of music and entertainment and laughter. And we tell inspiring stories that we believe our community can inspire all of South Africa by telling remarkable stories of people who've moved from importance to significance in building our country. So booking is now open for Jewish Achiever Awards 2025. Our theme is Mzansi Strong, which means South Africa Strong. You can book now. The date is the 2nd of November, and Dylan is going to be posting that into all the chats on Zoom, on YouTube, and on Facebook, so you can go and make a booking for Jewish Achiever Awards this year as well. Don't forget, if you're watching us this evening on YouTube, please click the like and subscribe button. That way you get notified when we go live, and we're able to get greater coverage and distribution on YouTube as well. So please take a moment and click the like and subscribe button. Doron, that's all the advertising we have to do tonight. Now the rest of the evening is all about you.
Thank you.
And I want to start at the end, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning. You are the winner of the Israel Prize, one of the few people who get recognized by the State of Israel in the most prestigious prize that exists. What did it mean to you to win the Israel Prize?
To stand in Jerusalem and to recall my brother who was left behind bleeding in the Yom Kippur War, 7 days evacuated, dead already, to recall my oath. I swore near his burnt tank to never leave a wounded behind. This is number one. My military service is done due my oath to my brother. And then my son, who was born 11 years after the Yom Kippur War, we gave him the name of my brother, expected he would be better than us, a source of pride, continue the legacy of the family, maybe one day be a Nobel Prize winner. This child passed away at the age 23, almost 19 years ago, never spoke, never said one word. And in our world, he was named retarded, in Hebrew, mefager. He was diagnosed with severe brain injury. The psychologist told us he's having a combination of autism and retardation. Probably will never speak, probably he will stay permanently child at the age 3-4 months. So he is the greatest teacher of my life. He taught me what does it mean being stereotyped, stigmatized. What does it mean being Jew 2,000 years and fingers point at you and saying, you bloody Jew. Here in our beloved country, our son was discriminated. And for him, I did my oath to change Israel's society, to make tikkun olam. But first of all, I swore to love him, never leave him behind. It seemed to me in retrospect, he came to the last minute of my wounded brother and lived as a wounded in our society, enveloped by walls of shame and stigma. And for him, where we built a village for severely disabled children like him, but not only for disabled from birth, but also for wounded, for soldiers, for ordinary people, all of a sudden having terror, bullet in their body, lost arms, legs, or maybe road accident or brain stroke or heart stroke. And for them, for the wounded, for those who are severely disabled. For them, we establish a village, which is a wonder. It's a hospital with 4 departments: orthopedic, neurologic, invention center, research center, and beloved 170 full lifespan children like our son, from birth to 50-something, the most elderly, enveloped by loving, caring, inclusive staff, about 800 volunteers, and every day between 50 to 500 people who are visiting. Visitors every day, visitors who are doing the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. Those children that were left behind, that it seems to me, and my wife did it, they are shame for our society. Many of them were taken overseas to Switzerland, England, and parents didn't speak about them. So we break down the walls of shame and stigma. So standing there in Jerusalem, awarded the Israel Prize, was about my most beloved Eran, my brother and my son. Those two, for them, I dedicated my life to fight for Israel, to fight for the Jewish people, and make the Jewish people and the state of Israel a stronger and much better, a model society, Chevrat Mofet, exemplary society, society which strive for excellence in every field. It may be health, agriculture, high-tech, cyber, education, welfare, to be the best in the world in every field, number 1. Number 2, never leave the wounded behind. Take them with us. Give a hope to the parents, to the wounded, to the disabled, to the bereaved, to the hostages, to those who are behind. Right now we have 48 hostages in Gaza. And that should be our commitment. The Arvut Adadit, the mutual responsibility, our values for our beloved Jewish people, for the state of Israel. Never leave the wounded, never leave the weakest behind. And our child was not just wounded, it was the weakest. Couldn't say a word, couldn't say, my dear father, please replace my diaper. I'm 30 minutes done. Please, I want a glass of water. Please, I want white socks. Please, I need new shoes. Nothing. A soul which is inside body, a prison, a body which is like a prison, unable to do anything, testing us every day, testing our values, teaching us what does it mean to be a high soul? What does it mean compassion? What does it mean tzedakah? You, my dear father, you flew to Entebbe to save 105 Israeli hostages. They were 1 week hostage. 1 week, my dear father. I'm hostage from birth, unable to do anything by my power. My dear father, I'm here to test your behavior, to test what kind of person are you. If you're just speaking or doing, what the gap between your words and your performance, my dear father. I'm your son. It's up to you to choose shame or to choose make something for me. Be a proud father and do something for people like me. So, at length, that was my feeling when I stood there in Jerusalem, awarded the Israel Prize. I was very proud of both. My brother, who gave his life to protect the state of Israel, was killed near Tel Saki, on his way to Tel Saki, South Golan Heights, 1973, October 6. and our son, who still, both of them, still continue speaking with me and navigating me, and they are the compass of my life.
So Doron, let's go back to the beginning and let's talk about your brother Eran as well. I presume an older brother. I want to talk about the impact that his death had on your life.
First of all, the rumor said both of us were killed. I was 22 at the Yom Kippur War. I fought in Sinai. He fought in the Golan Heights. And the rumor said both of us were killed. And then the telephone call at the end of the war, my war, at the Egyptian side, a telephone call to my home, and my mother from the other side saying, we lost Eran. We have no Eran anymore. And then I came home. There was no Shiva. They were all buried in temporary cemeteries. So I came home, no Shiva. So I continued to the Golan Heights to find his belonging, to find the story, to find what happened. I did my own investigation. I reached his burnt tank. I found his razor. I found some of his clothes. I found his helmet, his pistol. Just behind me, if you look at the cursor of my here, this is his ID tank. This is his ID tank. And this is a song that was written about him. Chaim Hefer, Israeli poet who wrote about him, the young soldiers that were killed. And this is his ID tag here, still stained with his blood. 52 years after. So I did my own investigation. I found his soldiers in hospitals, and shockingly, I learned that he was left behind. At first, I was crazy from pain and frustration. I found myself running and shouting his name. I was sure he must appear. He must appear. He's here. I couldn't believe he's not. We had a dream to build together a ranch. We loved riding horses. We want to build horse ranch. And I have many pictures with him riding horses. And so at first I was rageous and crazy. And I also blame those who left him bleeding at the first day, the first night of the Yom Kippur War, when they were few against many. But he brought me, my bleeding brother, to a guilt feeling, to feel if I was there, I would save him. Of course, I would save him. And all my life, I would continue feeling guilt about not being with him, not evacuated him. So my military service was for him, was my oath to my brother. So I participated in hundreds of battles, and luckily I'm in one piece. I lost many on my right side, on my left side, or behind me. And I felt he is watching me. He is my brother. He is watching me. As you know, I'm the first soldier to land in Entebbe, the last to leave the Entebbe airfield. Many, many battles against terrorist leaders, targeted.
So can we pick up and select a few of those stories maybe to tell us? And I want to start actually with the massacre of Israeli athletes at Munich and what happened after that. Maybe you can tell us about your story and your involvement.
Okay, September 1992, 11 Israeli sportsmen were killed in Munich Olympic game. And shortly after, Golda Meir decided to hunt down the terrorists and to reach each one of them. I participated the first one in Tripoli. We came from the sea with a naval commando. We landed march at night, about 11 kilometers, and penetrated to Tripoli. Not Tripoli, the town Al-Badawi, what was a refugee camp. And then we moved from room to room, from building to building. And my force, I was heading a force who killed 18 terrorists from 1 meter distance. I found myself at the end taking 2 Kalashnikov from terrorists who aimed at me from 1 meter. I was quick enough to kill them before they killed me. And then we evacuated by helicopters back to Israel. On a flight back, my commander, Colonel Uzi Ayiri, knew that I'm having 2 Kalashnikov. He asked me one as present, and I gave him near the cockpit. And he was killed later. Uzi Ayiri, 2 years later. That was his personal weapon in the Yom Kippur War. And when terrorists penetrated to Tel Aviv Savoy Hotel, 1974, he joined the Sayeret Matkal. He was before, he was also commander of Sayeret Matkal. He was killed in action. Chief of Staff Mota Gur did his eulogy and said Uzi was killed holding the Kalashnikov. He got a present from Tripoli. So that's some of the memories from the first action that our Prime Minister Golda Meir ordered us to hunt down the terrorists. So that's one of many operations.
So in fact, we did a number of webinars, 2 webinars, in fact, about Sylvia Raphael, who was a South African Mossad agent, who led a number of the missions to go after some of the people involved in the Munich massacre. Died in Pretoria, and her remains were then taken and buried on a kibbutz in Israel.
I participated, by the way, I participated in many operations of Mossad as the last to get behind enemy line and the first to get out. They brought the intelligence, and I led many missions. One of them saving life of pilot who ejected over Beirut, Lieutenant Colonel Miki Lev. November 20, 1983, he led 8 Israeli airplanes to bombard Hezbollah targets. It was shot down 2 p.m. It was shot down by Hezbollah fire. And at that time, I was in some preparation of other mission together with Shayetet 13, and then I got on the red line order, 2 Sikorsky helicopter going to land and take you to Beirut. I said, what happened in Beirut? Said Lieutenant Colonel Miki Lev, ejected, now held by terrorists, you go and bring him. 2 p.m., he ejected. 8 p.m., he was back in Israel. We landed in Junia, and one Mossad agent, his name Gazi, waited for us, prepared vehicles, Lebanese vehicles, Mercedes, Land Rover, Volvo, some Lebanese vehicles. And then we penetrated to Beirut, the Dahya area. We found these captors. We surrounded, enveloped them, negotiated, aiming to kill them. And as I said, 8 p.m., he was back in Israel alive. We stayed there for more 24 hours. Mission, many missions in Sudan to bring Jews from Ethiopia. I participated in.
So let's get on to that. But before we get on to the rescue of Ethiopian Jews, I want to talk about Entebbe, and maybe you can give some of the younger viewers who may not remember what happened at Entebbe, maybe you can just sketch for them the background and then talk about the rescue mission.
In 1976, at the end of June, Air France airplane was hijacked. It was Sunday. On his flight from Ben Gurion, landed in Athens and supposed to continue to Paris. And terrorists took over, hijacked the airplane, continued to, at first, Algeria and then to Nairobi, Uganda, and then started negotiating with the Israeli government, asking to release 52 prisoners, terrorists who were prisoned here in Israel. They asked the Israeli government to fly them to Germany and so on. Israeli government said, yeah, we are unable to do anything. So they supposedly negotiated. However, there was no enough information to operation. Mistakenly for the terrorists decided to release those who are non-Jews on Wednesdays, 3 days before the operation. And they were flown to Paris. And our Mossad agents in Paris, including one from Sayeret Matkali, later was Major General Amiram Levin, they interrogated those who were flown to Paris, and we got enough information to know that all the hostages, 105, are kept in the old terminal, guarded by 4 terrorists at the corner of the hall, and more 3 together with Ugandan guards at the second floor. And as a matter of fact, only Wednesday we got enough information to plan a real plan, a real operation. Thursday afternoon, July 1st, I arrived home from the Golan Heights, and then my mom, when I just entered, I was not married that time, living in Rishon LeZion. When I get inside, my mom saying, "My dear son," when she wanted to be formal, "My dear son, you go to Entebbe." I told the mom, "What are you speaking?" She said, I know this matter. She gave me a paper with list of names. She said, "All these people were looking for you. Sit down near the telephone, landline telephone, answer them." And that's what I did. And Friday morning, 6 a.m., we were together with Sayeret Matkal. 8 a.m. first order, 10 a.m. second order. At night, Friday night, July 2nd, 1976, we did a model exercise. And then Saturday, July 3rd, we took off from the military side of Ben Gurion, landed in Sharm el-Sheikh for pep talk, for last briefing, for more information. And then we took off from Sharm el-Sheikh, landed 11 p.m. sharp in Entebbe. 53 minutes on the ground. I was in the first Hercules. My troops, 10, we jumped out from the left door and the right door, while the first Hercules, taxiing on the runway, and taxiing about 20 kilometers an hour, and then 4 of my guys marked the runway with battery torchlight, not torchlight, but battery lights. And me and the other 5 will continue to the new control tower. And then the other 4 who marked the runway later joined me, and we captured the new control tower. The first Hercules continued to the end of the runway, more 2 kilometers, and this walks Sayeret Matkal, Yoni Netanyahu, 1 Mercedes, 2 Land Rover, 35 soldiers. They moved quickly along another runway, arrived to the old terminal, penetrated inside, and luckily, the first hit, or before they arrived, the engagement with the 2 Ugandan soldiers, they shot them and didn't succeed to kill them with a silencer. There was one big burst of one of the soldiers from Sayeret Matkal, Pinchas Buchis, later known as Brigadier General. However, I thought, well, we lost surprise. They continued the last 150 meters and then penetrated to their building, to the old terminal. Amir Ofer, the first soldier to get inside. After him, Amnon, the squad commander, and then Muki Betzer, and then Amos Goren. And these four killed the terrorists inside, the woman and the three, and another squad got to the second floor and killed 11 Ugandan guards. And as a matter of fact, in my building were also 4 Ugandan guards. As a matter of fact, after 2 minutes of the operation, about the 7 terrorists and about 30 Ugandan guards were killed. Number 4, Hercules, got the order to reach the old terminal, and the hostages, 3 of the hostages were killed from fire exchange, but 102 altogether, there were 105, 102 evacuated, embarked to the number 4 Hercules. By the way, the first Hercules landed first, 7 minutes after the first landed number 2, 1 minute after number 2 landed number 3, 1 minute after landed number 4 with the medical evacuation team, and only number 4 got the permission to get closer to the old terminal and embark the hostages together with Sayeret Golani. They flew first. Number 4 was the first to take off. And later we continue also to Nairobi. In Nairobi, we refuel the Hercules. One of the soldiers, one of my friends, Eshka Surin, are wounded, badly wounded, got a bullet here. And he was treated by 2 doctors in number 1 Hercules. Yoni Netanyahu was the only soldier to be killed by running toward the old terminal. Yoni was killed by a fire from the old control tower. That's not the same control tower that I took over. My control tower was at the other part of the airport. So number 1 took off. Number 4 landed. We all landed in Nairobi, refueled, and then flew back to Israel. Only number 4 landed in Ben Gurion, welcomed by Prime Minister Rabin. Shimon Peres was the Minister of Defense. Motagu was Chief of Staff. We, the other 3 Hercules, we landed in Tel Nof Air Base, also welcomed later by the Prime Minister, Chief of Staff, Minister of Defense, and then I phone home, tell my parents. And then when my mom heard my voice, she said, first question, I said, I'm home. She said, who was killed? I said, what are you speaking? And she said, from 3 a.m. in the morning, Israeli radio saying there was operation in Entebbe, successful operation, one of the high-ranking officer wounded. So I understood one is killed. I was major at that time. Yoni Netanyahu was my friend. I said, Mom, this is Yoni. I knew Yoni very well from 1972. We enlisted soldiers to Special Forces, 1972, November 1972. 1973, the Yom Kippur War, he fought in the Golan Heights, but I met him 1974. We did operation together. We did operation in Syria, in Mount Hermon. We share experience of the Yom Kippur War, shared our losses. And that was great grief and sorrow while flying back and knowing Yoni is not anymore with us. However, this is I think it's something very unique to participate in such a mission to save the life of 102 hostages in an operation which is part of the military pantheon forever, one of the greatest operation in the modern history of military operation.
Doron, did this start a relationship between yourself and the rest of the Netanyahu family with people like Bibi, the current prime minister?
First of all, we meet almost every year at the cemetery for the memorial service of Yoni Netanyahu. We have known for years, and we exchange views on things. And right now, as a chairman of Jewish Agency, my concern about the Jewish people all over the world, my concern about Aliyah, about bringing 1 million Jews, to continue the partnership between the State of Israel and Jews all over the world, continue building the State of Israel. And as a matter of fact, we need many professionals. We need doctors, we need engineers, we need the academy, we need researchers. We lost many in this war. Last time I met Prime Minister Netanyahu in his office speaking about Aliyah, about bring 1 million, about special governmental decision to back up Jewish Agency operation with governmental decision, invest a lot of money for operation overseas. First of all, Jewish identity, Jewish education, all over the world, operating in 66 countries. Secondly, empowering the partnership between Jewish communities all over the world with our emissaries, shlichim, continue the effort to bring more Jews to Israel. And I'm happy also to share with you, until now, we brought more than 50,000 Jews, about 1/3 of them youngsters, between 18 to 30.
In what time frame is the 50,000?
Since October 7 until now, until today,
Already.
more than 50,000. I call them Aliyah of the brave one. Those who arriving to Israel at this horrific time when Israel failed on October 7, and we lost nearly 2,000.
I think we're going to get onto the work of the Jewish Agency, and we're going to get a talk about the 7th of October as well. But I don't want to get away from the stories that you were going to tell us about Sudan and the rescue of Ethiopian Jewry. But before I ask you that question, your mother seems like a tough individual. Tell us about that upbringing that you came from, and tell us about your parents and the fact that you're flying around the world, you're on missions around the world, and how do they react to you going into Sudan, going into Ethiopia, going into Libya, going into Lebanon, going into Uganda? How do your parents react? Because there's a human part of it, and there's, of course, also an ideological part of it.
My parents born in here, in Eretz Israel, under the British mandate. They wanted in their life one thing, only one thing, to throw away the Brits and have a state. And have the first, after 2,000 years, have a Jewish state, the third temple. For them, the most dearest thing was the state of Israel. My mother testimony said, I haven't seen my mom crying, never. But her testimony, I have a video testimony of her, November 29, 1947, the United Nations Declaration, 181, two-state solutions. At that night, she cried. They danced horror, and she cried. So I have a 4-minute video of my mom. She's speaking about her cry. And she was also taken when she was 16 and up. She was in kibbutz, Ma'abarot, and 2 years before, 1946, June 1946, she was arrested by the Brits, taken to a prison in Latrun. Latrun is an armor memorial. She was taken and tortured. And about 2.5 weeks, she was tortured. They wanted to know who are the commanders, where the weapons. The weapons, it was illegal to hold a weapon. And she didn't say a word. And many times she told us, the Brits arrested me, tortured me. I didn't say a word. Later, she took us to the kibbutz to show where the weapons were, who were the commanders. She named the commanders. But in prison, she didn't say a word. She was very tough. Very, very tough woman. Later, July 12, 1948, when the Egyptian attacked Kibbutz Negba, she was there. Many were killed. All the cows were killed. Children evacuated. And she is sitting, people around her under pressure, speaking in the radio, and she's smiling. I don't know who did the picture. A beautiful picture of my mom smiling, like, what the hell? Who are this Egyptian? And among themselves, they said, if we fell in Kibbutz Negba, Tel Aviv fell. Later, about my mom, she passed away 3 years ago. At that day, she cried, November 29, 2022. And my third brother, my second brother was killed. My third brother joined Sayeret Matkal. He was 14 years old during the Yom Kippur War. In his eulogy, my third brother, he said, number one, he did his own testimony on my mom conversation with me after the Yom Kippur War, when I reached telephone, when she announced me that my second brother was killed. And then he said, when he was 17, he accepted to Sayeret Matkal, and my mom taking him to a lawyer to sign. She agrees that he continues to a combat unit, to Sayeret Matkal. And then he described another event. April 7, the night between April 7, April 8, 1980, terrorists took over kindergarten in Kibbutz Misgavam, north of Israel. He was at home after operation. And 4 a.m., my mom shook him, told him, Modi, a telephone call from the unit. Terrorists took over the kindergarten, and your team should do the mission to kill the terrorists. Go to the unit. I was there. I met him. He arrived with helicopters, with his unit. So, bereaved mother, 7 years after the Yom Kippur War, 7 years after losing my beloved second brother, she tells my third brother to go and fight for the country, knowing he may be killed in a battle. 1975, the commander of paratrooper wanted me to be the commander of Sayeret Tzanchanim. So he called me and said, you are the best commander. I want you to be the commander of Sayeret Tzanchanim, the special forces. But I can't give you the mission because you bereaved family. Your brother was killed. I have no power to go again to your parents and tell them if you are killed. I told him, go now. He came to my parents' home. My mom looked at his eyes, told him, you trust Doron? He said, yes, I trust him. He said, you can send him first to any mission. If he's killed, we know how to face it. That's my mom. This is the education I got at my home.
Wow. Amazing family. Doron, tell us about Ethiopian Jewry. Tell us about Sudan. Tell us about the rescue of Operation Moses.
It's not, as a matter of fact, there were clandestine operation. That Operation Moses was the beginning of the 90s. I'm speaking about the beginning of the 80s. since 1983, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. I participated in many missions in Sudan together with Mossad, with the scuba diving mission in Sudan.
The Scoop is a story that many people watch the Netflix
Yeah,
documentary or a movie about.
yeah. So I was Special Force Unit Commander, and we did exercise together for the evacuation. The mission of the Mossad agent was to bring them by trucks to some place in the desert. My mission was to land with sometimes 2 Hercules, 3 Hercules, sometimes 4 Hercules, just on in a desert, in open terrain. In Entebbe, we didn't have the ability to land blindly, but later, at the 80s, we got the ability to land according a laser beam, 2 laser beam marking just a piece of land. Wow. And on the ground, I was the commander in case of something wrong happened, when there are air crews, about 30, the pilots and staff of the airplanes, the operators of the pilots and navigators and technician of the airplanes, and then about 30, 40 special force commanders, leaders, soldiers, landing at night, scary landing. And then, by the way, some of our brothers and sisters who came from Sudan, marching 400, 500 kilometers, some moved by truck, some just marching, came like children of Israel with nothing, with torn clothes, some belonging in their hands, and that's all. Very thin, come from the desert. Each operation was like Exodus, like from slavery to freedom. So we came down where we joined in a rendezvous places with the Mossad agent, with a group of our brothers and sisters from Ethiopia, sometimes 200, 300, 400. The maximum was 600. We loaded them with special marks, special stick light, marking them the way to the Hercules. The Hercules continue operating, blowing a lot of dust and noise. For some of our brothers and sisters, that was first time to understand what is airplane. Some of them were so scared they started run away. We need to hug them, to hold them, and to comfort them. So we embarked them on the Hercules, walking together 200 meters, 300 meters, and then fly back with them to Israel, and then welcomed by Prime Minister Shamir. I have pictures with the Prime Minister, with that of Mossad, Nahum Admoni, with the Chief of Staff, Minister of Defense, and then they were taken by the Sochnut, by Jewish agency, to absorption center in Israel. I have one of my pictures with Prime Minister Shamir. I'm with civil clothes, and between me and Shamir, there was a guy that I didn't know his name. In retrospect, I learned to know, because one day I got information that a man, his name Jaime, was head of Aliyah at the 80s, and he passed away. So I said, I want to go to the Shiva. I came to the Shiva, and then his son telling me, you know who was my father? I said, no, I know that he was head of Aliyah department in a Jewish agency. He said, no, you know him from the special forces. I have picture of you, Prime Minister Shamir, and my father. And he showed me the picture. I'm speaking, face to face. I'm speaking with the prime minister, and in the middle, Jaime. So, very moving operations, really great privilege to participate in such an operation, to bring Jews who prayed 2,000 years in Meshkachech Yerushalayim, who continue holding the Bible, praying the same Bible that we continue holding until now. And their language is different, but they are our brothers and sisters. Very moving operation, great privilege to lead such operation, to bring them home, to the only Jewish homeland, the state of Israel.
One of my favorite stories, we did a webinar on the rescue of Ethiopian Jewry, and the story was told to us that in the first people who came across and came to find Ethiopian Jewry, and the Ethiopians didn't realize or doubted they were Jewish because they had never seen white Jews before. They just presumed that all Jews were black. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us, that being Jewish has no color.
And I can tell you that here in Israel, for years, they were discriminated, like my son. One of the workers in my village, a teacher in the kindergarten, she was from the Ethiopian, Sima Marsha. One day I came to the kindergarten. This kindergarten integrated ordinary children with disabled. And then she's crying, Sima. Why are you crying, Sima? She is crying. He said, you didn't hear you didn't hear the news. The policeman hit one of the Ethiopian community in Ashdod. They don't let us to taste wine. They don't take blood. They think we are sick. We are discriminated. And she cursed. I hugged her. I told her, Sima, we love you. You are part of our people. And then she wiped her tears. And she said, bring more ordinary kids. I will teach them what is love. I will teach them what is ve'avta l'reacha kamocha. And she was, I spoke with them. When did you come to Israel? She came 1984, she was 12, 1984. I was the commander at the end of 1984. I was the commander of the operation, the commander on the ground. So, yes, a chapter. What a chapter in my life. Not only the operation, the easy part is the operation in Sudan. The much harder part was the integration here. The integration of the Jews from Ethiopia that at first were discriminated. And we need to ask them forgiveness. We are before Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the terrible days, accountability. We, the people of Israel here, need to say, forgive us, please. Pardon. And we need to continue the legacy of Am Israel, ve'avta l'reacha kamocha, mutual responsibility.
So, Doron, I want to circle back to Eran, your son, because you're a war hero. And then to be almost humbled by a child with great disabilities. And I want to talk about the impact that had on you as a human being. Was it almost like the next battle that you went into to fight against discrimination against the disabled? Was it the same sort of military precision? And talk about yourself and the impact on yourself and your personality, your empathy, your understanding of the world. Talk to us about the lessons that Eran actually taught you.
The main lesson is about judging the world, judging every event, every place, every human being, from the most severely disabled, from the helpless. I give you one example. I wanted to teach him swimming. I took him to the gym here in my Ness Ziona, my hometown. I came to the JCC, the club, hugging him, his lower lip down, saliva outside, and he's walking like a duck. Never gaze at your eyes. Somewhere his gaze, somewhere to the point, to the corners. And then someone from my hometown came to me and say, he's retarded. I said, yes, he's my son. He's retarded. Yes. You won't come in. You won't get inside. Take him to special institute. He should be closed, behind walls. I told him, listen, what do you think will be when you are 85 or 90? You want to be closed behind doors and walls? You want to be taken out of society? You want to be discriminated because of your aging? And then he lowered his eyes, and I came inside, and I taught him swimming. But, I taught him swimming, but he taught me what does it mean to be human being? What does it mean to fight for the weakest in our society? To be a mouthpiece for him and like him. And he made me a better person, just like that. I was arrogant. If our son was not born, January 6, 1984, if he was not born, I would be a different person. Much arrogant, thinking I'm super something, Superman, whatever. And he punched me and taught me. He's the greatest professor of my life. He taught me the greatest class. What does it mean to be a human being? He made me human being. Kadma derech eretz, we say. Kadma derech eretz, first of all, be human being. But also, I consider him and like him as high soul. Those who came to our world without ability to correct themselves. They came to our world to correct our behavior. And I owe him everything. The Israel Prize, the character that I'm now, is my educator, my professor.
I think the last nearly 2 years have been very difficult for the Jewish people. They've certainly been difficult for Israel. So I want to talk about the 7th of October. Your family was impacted by that as well. All of Israel and all of the Jewish people were impacted. Tell us about your personal experience on the 7th of October.
Horrible day. At first I didn't believe. Things like that may happen. So at first I got some WhatsApp at my home. Luckily, from my village, which is like near Ofakim, I was said everything fine. So I told nothing. Later at noon, I got one telephone call from a relative of my family saying there is no connection with the Almog family in Kfar Aza. Afternoon, I did a Zoom briefing to the leadership of Jewish agency at the middle of the Zoom meeting. I got a WhatsApp that 6 from my family were killed in Kfar Aza. 6 are absent. At first they said the 6 were killed. Later, we got more information on what happened. I think 2 days later, we known that 2 were killed. Nadav Goldstein Almog and his daughter Yam was killed. We didn't know about the other 4. I think about 2 weeks later, I got the information that they're hostages. Chen, wife of Nadav and Chen were friends since 14 years old in Kibbutz Kfar Aza. Nadav was soldier Sayeret Matkal. Both were 49 years old. Their bodies, the body of Nadav and his daughter Yam, 19 years old soldier, were found. And later, 2 weeks later, we got information the 4 from my family are hostages. There were hostages 51 days. At these 51 days, I thought they would be killed. Because of my operation in Gaza, because of some of the targeted operation against Hamas leaders, I was sure they would be killed. I couldn't sleep. Luckily, after 51 days, they returned. Then the mother with the second daughter, Agam, she was at that time, she was 17 and a half, and 2 boys, Gal and Tal, 11 and 9. I met them at the Schneider Hospital. I cried like I didn't cry. I haven't cried all my life. It was a volcano eruption. All my pressure outside. And then I heard first time the story of the hostages. I arrived to Kibbutz Kfar Aza shortly after, and I found their home with a lot of blood, bullets all around. And I found their neighbor's house, which is the Kutz family. I want to tell you about the Kutz family. The all 6 were killed, and they were found hung. The Kutz family, they did Aliyah from Boston 4 years before. The boys were basketball players. There were 5, as a matter of fact. A father, mother, 2 boys, and 1 girl. And there was a kite, a colorful kite at the entrance of my family. And when I did some investigation on what is this kite, so I've been told by my family members, they planned, the Kutz family, they planned on October 7th, they planned international colorful kite display over Gaza envelope. That was the illusion, the dream of the Kibbutz Kfar Aza members. A colorful kite display on October 7th, Shabbat Simchat Torah. They wanted peace. They have never imagined one day to be slaughtered and killed in their home. Helpless, slaughtered, taken by wild beasts. So as you know, October 7, huge failure. 1,200 were killed, slaughtered. My wife's sister lived in a kibbutz near Oz. 100 from 400 were killed and taken hostage. She was saved by her husband, Moshe Adar. Tamir Adar, the child of Moshe Adar, was killed. His body is still in Gaza. One of the 48 hostages is a body of Tamir Adar. If you recall one picture, Yafa Adar, 85-year-old, was taken by one of the terrorists on a small motorcade.
A golf car.
Yeah, a golf car, yes. And she's booing it, she's smiling, booing at the face of the terrorists. She returned also after 51 or 52 days. Yafa Adar, she's still in Karmei Gat. But Israel, to make the connection to the current time, Israel in crisis. Kfar Aza, until now, is a ghost kibbutz. Nir Oz is a ghost kibbutz. The population didn't come back, nor to Nir Oz, neither to Kfar Aza, and some others. Many unable to come back. Chen, I just told you about Chen. She's unable to get back to her home. She won't come back. She's now in Kibbutz Faim. Next week, the body of Nadav and Yom, the daughter, right now the body is in Kibbutz Faim. Next week, we have a funeral in Kibbutz Kfar Aza. Bring back the bodies. But the family unable to return. When I'm speaking about 1 million Olim, need to understand many unable to return, many suffering trauma, and still there is war in Gaza, and many unable to return to north of Israel, many. You know, Kiryat Shmona is also about 50% of the population return. Metula, almost empty. Many kibbutzim, like Manara, still empty. We need people. We need the young generation. We need them to come. We need to continue carry responsibility, take responsibility, continue building and developing. The miracle of the state of Israel. Israel is a miracle. The third temple, this is a miracle. But we should never, never, ever forget what happened on October 7. On October 7 is a nightmare memory for Jews all over the world forever. And Hamas is like Amalek. When it continue fighting and beating Hamas forever. Doesn't matter what happened right now in Gaza. When it continue punching Hamas forever. And yeah, I believe, I'm optimistic. Israel is strong. Jewish people is strong. But we need more unity. We need to continue the partnership between all Jews in the world, here in the Eretz Israel and the state of Israel, continue building the state of Israel as a model society.
So, Doron, in your role as head of the Jewish Agency, you are really responsible for the relationship between world Jewry and Israel. And how has 7th of October affected all of us around the world? We've seen this massive rise of anti-Semitism. We've seen many people much more committed to Israel now than they've ever been. And we've also seen people too frightened to sometimes stand up and express their commitment, which maybe they were able and willing to do before the 7th of October. Describe for us how you see the state of world Jewry today and our relationship to the state of Israel.
I think October 7 is also the beauty hour of Jewish people. I saw many thousands of solidarity missions arriving to Israel at the first days, at the first week, arriving to Israel, volunteering in Gaza envelope, in a kibbutzim, in the town south, like Ofakim, like Netivot, in Beersheba, many arriving. Also, the fundraising. I want to tell you that billions arrived to Jewish Agency from Jews all over the world. So we saw solidarity missions, we saw volunteering missions, we saw more fundraising, we saw proud Jews. Yes, from one side they are horrified, they're scared. From the other side, they stand tall. They stand tall for Israel. Yes, it's true, there are some who keep distance, who do not come. Yes, there are. But there are more who show empathy and sympathy and love to the state of Israel. Mainly from those who are overseas, and many of them do not feel Aliyah. Many of them having the commitment to stay in their homeland. But their heart and prayer still with Israel. They continue praying for Jerusalem, continue praying for the Jewish people, and continue the legacy of unified people despite the diversity. And I think, my personal opinion, diversity is a source of power. The diversity makes us much better human being and better people. And it's also a challenge because diversity may bring you to polarization and discrimination and hatred and things like that. So it's a huge challenge for the Jewish people in the state of Israel to accept one each other. Inclusion, the main lesson that my child taught me. Inclusive, be inclusive society. My dear father, continue leading the idea of inclusion, of Chevrat Mofet, of a model society. And this is a great challenge for the state of Israel at this time, when we're leftists and rightists and toward election and blaming and so on. But above all, people take responsibility. You ask about Jews overseas, Jews taking responsibility. The young generation taking responsibility. Many youngsters arrived from South Africa and serving at the IDF right now. I know the government of South Africa stated that we do genocide, blah, blah, blah. What a heroes. Your children arrived from South Africa and joined the IDF and fighting and take the burden on their shoulders, and they are amazing. And I met many parents who arrived here to Israel. Wow, you are wonderful, wonderful people, and your love and commitment. It's not love, it's unconditional love to the state of Israel. So I'm grateful and thankful to you and all the Jewish community in South Africa. You are wonderful, and I'm sorry I couldn't reach to tell you in person. I hope it will be done.
So, Doron, in our last few moments that we have with you, I want to remind everyone watching that if you have a question or a comment, this is the time to absolutely post into the chat section on YouTube or Zoom. It's also just Erev Rosh Hashanah. So if you'd just like to wish people a Shana Tova or bracha or blessing, please feel free to use the chat section on Facebook, Zoom and YouTube as well to send messages to everyone else who's watching us this evening. Before we deal with any questions that come in from the audience, the war will end. It's a matter of time, but the war will end. Wars are not perpetual. What should the priorities of the Jewish people be when the immediate dangers are over?
The mutual responsibility, this is our power. The mutual responsibility despite missiles and dangerous and risk all over, despite terror, despite horror. People standing tall, and this is our part. This is the spirit of the state of Israel. Like October 7, many youngsters jumped, took a weapon, and came to help and fight. The spirit of the Jewish people is a wonderful spirit. And this is something I'm very, very proud. And at the eve, just at the horrible days, the time of accountability, I'm telling myself, wow, I'm very proud on being Jew, on taking on my shoulders this mission to be the chairman of Jewish agency and have my own concern and translate my own concern and worries to Jews all over the world to some real operation on the ground for a better life, for a better, stronger, democratic Jewish state of Israel. And I wanted again to thank you and say Shana Tova, my blessing to all of you. Be proud on born Jew, stand tall on being Jew, and continue doing good things for the state of Israel and the Jewish community in South Africa. Thank you so much.
Doron, when we sent out an advert for tonight, we said one of the most inspiring people in Israel, a true statesman, a true individual who has changed society. And I just want to thank you on behalf of our community for not only being so generous with your time this evening, but for the remarkable and inspiring role that you've played for all of world Jewry, the compassion that you've taught us, the lessons that you've learned from Iran. Just, it means that everyone has the ability, they themselves, to change the world and the society in which they live. And you are a living example of someone who has put their life on the line multiple times to save the Jewish people, to save the people of Israel, and to change society for the better. And for that, I want to thank you. And I want to thank everyone who's joined us this evening on YouTube, on Zoom, and on Facebook. I want to wish you all a sweet new year. May our hostages be returned safely to us as a matter of priority. There is a commitment between a state and its citizens, especially when it has a citizens' army, that no person gets left behind. And that's one of the great lessons, I think, Doron, that you have taught us this evening, a lesson that comes from your brother, that no one should ever be left behind. And we must go to the ends of the earth and pay whatever price to make sure that our brethren are home sooner rather than later. To all of you who've watched this evening, Shana Tova, fast well, and Doron, let's see you either in Israel or in South Africa in the near future. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much. Shana Tova, I love you.
Good night.
Good night.